Monday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend. Some developing news within the last hour. The Browns have put Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah on the physically unable to perform list. That means he will miss all of the 2025 season. General Manager Andrew Berry said they will not make any predictions about JOK's future. JOK, in a statement that he issued, said he will not, he just doesn't know what's next. So he continues to listen to his medical team and tries to get better, but he does not know what will be next for him. We do know Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah will not be playing football in 2025. Tony Grossi of ESPN Cleveland, longtime Browns beat reporter, talking about which quarterback looked better in this weekend's rookie minicamp.
I thought Dylan Gabriel both days looked a little bit better.
Why?
He throws a tight spiral. He throws a beautiful ball. He's very assertive. He knows the pocket. You could tell that, even though they're not rushing. He just has a pocket presence. Better arm strength than I thought.
Height wasn't an issue?
Not in this venue. I mean, it's touch football right now. So,
but you're still counting the numbers.
Yeah, but the numbers are the only things that don't lie. I mean, you could say he's short. Yeah, he's 5'11", so he's short.
But you don't think it was an issue now? It could be in the future.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I thought Gabriel was a little bit better both days. Doesn't mean Shedeur Sanders is a bust or anything.
And really, who looked better kind of is perception. It seems to be pretty even to 50-50 split as to which of those guys performed better. Doesn't matter until they put the pads on. Shedeur Sanders asked about his ability to focus on football and improving his craft with all the noise around him.
I'm doing what my dad raised me to do since I was like 5 years old. You know, I seen it. I seen what he was able to do, and I have a lot of great resources and mentors, you know, to keep me on the right track. And especially coming to this building, we have great coaches in the building, able to, you know, keep me focused, keep me in a straight, narrow line.
What's the balance between knowing you're competing and wanting to be the starter here for a long time, but also being right here, just getting started?
Well, of course, it's day by day. I just find something I want to perfect and just perfect it to the best of my abilities, and that's all I really focus on, and just being there, just being a leader, being a great teammate, doing what I need to do whenever it is. So I'm just thankful for an opportunity. Things could have been a lot worse, but I'm here smiling in front of you all at this facility right now.
So the Browns' two new running backs, Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins. Talking to the media, Judkins was asked about potentially replacing Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb is a great running back. He's done a lot of great things here. I'm excited to come in and you know, do what I can, and me and Dylan both contributing to the team and, you know, start my own legacy. And I think the coaches have put me in a great position to do that.
Opportunity of a lifetime, you know. All the players I met being so welcoming, meeting all the coaches and everybody. So, I mean, I'm just looking forward to get settled and, you know, getting my footing down.
I know you talked about you're excited to play with Quinshon and share that backfield. What's the early relationship been like with him?
Yeah, no, it's been good. You know, you can tell we're going to be able to push each other. I mean, as well as the older guys in the room, going to be able to learn a lot from each other, you know, and I'm ready to just learn some more ball. But, I mean, me and Quinshon, I could tell we'll have a good relationship, and, you know, we kind of see eye to eye on a lot of things. So glad to, you know, be in the backfield with him and the other guys that's there right now.
Browns did also make some free agent acquisitions, so some signings. This one, a safety. DeMonte KZ had played a few years with the Steelers. He is pretty well respected safety. They also said that rookie tryout wide receiver Luke Floria, they'd like to see more of him. The Kent State graduate will be sticking around. Browns also signed another safety, former Seahawks safety Reisland Jenkins, highly respected, 10 career interceptions, a couple of sacks last year for Seattle. He was signed by the Browns today. Browns also signed an undrafted free agent wide receiver, Keshawn Johnson, following the tryout at rookie minicamp, 6'1", 216, 75 catches, 925 yards, 7 touchdowns. Was all-conference USA a season ago, as Jordan Schultz reporting that the Browns will sign. And plenty of Browns talk, rookie minicamp, Jeff Lloyd and Lance Reisland ahead. Cavs, Pacers getting ready for what will be a closeout game for the Pacers tomorrow. Was not a good performance last night for the Cavaliers in Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton out on the run, and he gets the dunk off of the turnover. The Pacers threw a quick haymaker, and the Cavs could just never get in it. Obi Toppin gets the dunk on the Miles Turner alley-oop. Pascal Siakam finds Obi Toppin for the dunk. Pacers opened up a big lead and just kept rolling. Miles Turner knocks down the three. Aaron Nesmith beats the buzzer here just before half. 80-39. 80-39 at the half. And starters didn't really play in the second half. The Pacers take a 3-1 lead, 129-109 over the Cavs. Kenny Atkinson after the Cavs loss.
They dominated with their force. They raised their game to another level, and we didn't match it. We talked about it. We knew it was coming. I don't know. You try to prepare for these things. You try to prepare your guys mentally, but for whatever reason, they like I said, they were at another level. Their force was greater in every sense. There wasn't like, well, this aspect or rebound. I thought it was rebounding. Physicality. We were running our offense at half court. They had us pushed out. Couldn't get to our spots. It was really kind of physical domination.
So also in that game, Donovan Mitchell aggravated an ankle injury that you remember he had a couple weeks ago. At an MRI today, it confirmed it was aggravation of that injury. He is a game-time decision. Again, Pacers need one win, and they will be moving on to the Eastern Conference semifinals. Cavs trail 3-1, Game 2 tomorrow at Rocket Arena. Guardians Sunday Night Baseball against the Philadelphia Phillies. And Luis Ortiz, a pretty good start. Ortiz, that one runs back over the plate. 6 innings, 4 hits, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks. Second inning, and this one is what gave the Phillies the lead in the second. Kyle Schwarber. That one's not coming back. Solo home run, 1-0 Phillies. Remained 1-0 Phillies until the 8th inning, and it's Schwarber again. And second home run of the game. Phillies tacked one on, and the Phillies make it 2 out of 3 over the Guardians, 3-0. Stephen Vogt on what he saw, a pretty good start from Luis Ortiz last night.
It was outstanding. Really, really good. Outside of the solo homer, not a whole lot of hard contact. Just made pitches, got ahead. I think the times he did get in trouble, he was falling behind, but he made really good pitches to get back into it. I couldn't ask for anything more from Louis.
I feel like he's settled in since, the season debut was what it was, starting Washington, but it's been outings like this, it seems, for the most part since.
Yeah. Louis continues to get better, and he's going to have outings just like any pitcher in the world where he gives up runs, but the strides that he's making and the progression he's on is headed in the right direction, and he's throwing the ball excellent.
Guardians will start a 3-game series against the Brewers tonight at Progressive Field, and it will be Ben Lively getting the ball. The Guardians also optioned shortstop Brian Rocchio to AAA Columbus, recalled Will Brennan from the minor leagues. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Jeff Lloyd up first. We are talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We start by talking Browns on Sports4CLE. We told you earlier in the show, JOK out for 2025, placed on the physically unable to perform list. Let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd, host of Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. Jeff, kind of figured something was up with Schlesinger being picked in the second round. JOK, again, not predicting anything on his future, but we know for certain he won't be there this year.
Certainly you figured something was up. The couple of times that Andrew Berry was approached for an update, basically the answer we got is the update is there's no update. There was maybe some positivity. You brought back Devin Bush, you signed Jerome Baker. Okay, that wasn't a lot. So maybe there's still the possibility. But I know my first reaction, certainly to the selection of Carson Schlesinger at 33, because it felt like if you had him, you probably weren't drafting a linebacker at all. And then when you took the premium pick of 33 overall, my first reaction was, Schlesinger's a fantastic, certainly young prospect. But my first reaction at the time was, yeah, this is probably, not very good, for Jeremiah. We'll see. Does the year hopefully make the difference for him? And in his own words, in the statement that, JOK released, kind of, he basically left it open-ended, I would say, whereas,
Yep.
Hey, I understand there's more to the world than just football. As much as he likes the game, he can understand that, the smartest thing to do if what doctors advise him to is to maybe walk away. But at least now we have some sort of, concrete answer. And just knowing the type of guy he is, the personality he is, he's going to be around. Certainly, he will be a part of this team, in a different, certainly, capacity here in 2025.
So a lot of made of quarterback play. Dylan Gabriel at rookie minicamp talked about some of the questions about his height, as well as how the pre-draft process with the Browns went.
Just like I said, the similar way of thinking about the game, and offensively, schematically, the whole nine, I just appreciate that. And, I think naturally when you, in any profession, if you connect with a person, it just happens, and naturally it's our thing about football, but also as people, very easy people to, learn from and be coached by.
For us, the biggest criticism was your size. What do you have to say to those critics say that you might not be big enough?
I have nothing to say to the critics. For me, everyone has an opinion and is right to have their own opinion and can speak and how they feel. But for me, like I said, I'm simple, I'm focused. I got goals I want to accomplish. I would not be here if I listened to other people. So for me, it's listening to the right people, coaches, getting better every single day. And controlling what you can is when you get in between those white lines, dominating the moment, maximizing the moment, being present.
So we're going to go through this, I think, probably every time there's organized team activities and everything. I don't want to stack up who had better rookie minicamp. One, they're not in pads, but you addressed this on Browns 3D. How do these two rookies figure into the quarterback room?
I'm not sure, and I think I'm gonna slowly change here. I really do, because yes, on its surface, Dylan Gabriel was drafted 94th overall in the third round. Shedeur Sanders was drafted 144th overall in the fifth round. Did Sanders deserve to go in the fifth round? No. Or did Gabriel go in the third round? For a lot of reasons, maybe that he's not 6 feet tall. Probably the case, but these guys, there's really no reason that holding them back is going to do much. We're talking about a guy who's 24. We're talking about a guy who's 23. They have long resumes of what they did in college football. They are certainly well tested. If you think it's the height that's going to hold Dylan Gabriel back, well, he's 24. He's not going to grow anymore. So he's ready to go. Shador, you certainly, it looked on tape there were athletic limitations. It looked on tape, that, sometimes he was just, taking more sacks than he probably should have. Yes, certainly some of that was on the offensive line in Colorado as well. But at 24 and 23, regardless of where they were selected, they're about as ready to go as you can be. I mean, they're either, can make a little bit of a jump within themselves, within their play, adjust to NFL speed, being a little bit quicker, or they're just not going to be able to. So, I'm not necessarily sure what, playing whichever veteran, and, we're not keeping 4. And anybody who keeps bringing up the practice squad, neither Gabriel or Sanders is going to make it to a practice squad. If you put them on waivers, somebody is going to take them off your hands. So that's not an option. I'm just not necessarily sure. And this would come down to what you think this team is capable of as far as competing. And that would be, for me, the path would be starting Joe Flacco. But if you told me, and this is where I'm at, I believe, a combination of Sanders and Gabriel will start the most amount of games for the Cleveland Browns this year. I'm not sure which one of those guys would necessarily start more, as opposed to one versus one of them, who gets the more starts over the other one. But if you tell me this is a possibility where these guys combined are going to start over 10, maybe 13 games in 2025 for the Browns, so the Browns can get a good idea where these two are at, and, knowing that they have those 2 first-round selections in 2026. I mean, if I'm Cleveland, I want to see every drop of these guys. Not saying I'm still not going to go quarterback with one of those 2 first-round picks, but I want to have about as good a read on Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel as I possibly can.
All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, from Cleveland. One thing, I ain't been getting your shows for the last few days. Was something going on with a contract situation or whatever? But if you get this call, I just have one thing for you. I say we get rid of Kenny Pickett and keep the other 3 and let them battle it out. I don't know. Let me know what you think, brother. But be safe, be good. You and the family be safe. And I hope the show's back on soon. I haven't seen it since Monday. Love you, brother.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. I was doing Mid-American Conference softball, and in a couple of weeks we'll be doing Mid-American Conference baseball. So the show will not be on in like 2 weeks. Here's the question that I have, and you kind of alluded to Flacco. I still think Kevin Stefanski's mindset is Kenny Pickett can win this job, and here's where I go with it. They traded the 5th-round pick NDTR to acquire Kenny Pickett when Joe Flacco was still out there. They could have signed Joe Flacco before they traded for Kenny Pickett. How do you? And I'm not saying you're wrong, but make that make sense to me.
I think that's fair, and I think a lot of people equate that, like, hey, Kenny was the first move they made, and that could certainly be the case. It could. But again, if you get to where my theory is that, ideally I think the rookies are going to play more. And Joe's situation is a little bit different. Joe at 40 and a half years old, Joe being here, and I don't know how you necessarily trade him. I think the thing for Joe in 23, last year with the Colts, this year coming back to Cleveland, it's about having that, hey, I'm 3 hours away by plane. I can pop in at the family anytime I get a day off. The family can come out here at any given point in time. It's a little bit different when you're talking with Kenny Pickett, certainly younger, not a family man yet. And, the same reasons that Kenny Pickett may have had some appeal to the Browns could be the reason he'd be the easier one to move for Cleveland. It's harder to trade Joe. I mean, what if there was a West Coast team involved? I'm saying that kind of disrupts the apple cart. And you're not sure if maybe, when Joe came in, and maybe because he came in later in the process, there was kind of, some contingencies, hey, I don't want to go far. There's only certain teams I'm really interested in going to. But also Stefanski, the Browns offense, David Njoku, Joe Flacco, there's something here. Like, we've seen this. So we kind of know, hey, this maybe could work because we've seen it work. And we all remember the magical ride to close out the 2023 regular season. That's my thinking on it. Mm-hmm. I just think if you got into it and the grand scheme of it was, hey, we're going to play the rookies more than people think we're going to. then, maybe you just, stick it out with Joe, kind of just maybe get back pennies on the dollar, what you got for Kenny, and just go that route. Of course, it's still early, and I think a lot of us are probably putting a little bit more emphasis on this past weekend than maybe we should. But, you're in the moment. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, and now the Saints, have Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler.
And where did their head coach last season?
Yep. Yeah, that's where I was going with Kenny Pickett. So
I know you, Dave. We know each other well.
All right. This was interesting as well. So Mason Graham from Michigan vomited during one of the practices, and everybody immediately assumed, DeJuan Jones was out of shape. It was this, it was that. Well, it appears that, Mason Graham, who's trying to put on some weight, happened to eat before practice. Not a great idea. I know you did a topic on Browns 3D just about Graham, kind of quiet, but has a presence to him.
Oh, there's no question. And look, as far as Mason Graham, look, I was the practice puker. Look, there's just some dudes it happens to, and you just know. And you always kind of look around, make sure you kind of know where the garbage can is. It's kind of tough when you're out there, obviously, on a facility like the Browns have. But I think with Graham is, how many times do you see during the draft process where you see guys within the league and, they just have this different mentality as far as being defensive linemen, being pass rushers, they almost kind of create their own aura. Mason Graham kind of looks like the kid who would live next door to you and oh, we got to move something heavy. Hey, can you go knock on the door and see if Mason's home, and maybe Mason will come over and help us out. Just very quiet, unassuming kid. I think the high school wrestling background, that is always something that I think a lot of people, kind of underestimate, because it is such a game and is such a nuance of leverage and understanding, where you need your body have to be able to move what's in front of you or to get around what's in front of you. I think, certainly there was, flair and panache with Hunter, and certainly Abdul Carter and all of that stuff. But it just kind of seems like Mason Graham is just the safe steak and potatoes meal. You know what you're going to get each and every time. And, I honestly thought it was kind of funny that, even after he got sick, he kind of apologized. And first off, you're at rookie camp, man. You're the number 5 overall pick. Everybody else is just lucky to be there. You're pretty much the star attraction. So they should be apologizing for you or thanking you for the opportunity to get to be on the field with you. But, the fact that he felt bad, rinses off the helmet, apologizes to everybody. There's just a big kid in there. And, certainly with a lot of this group of guys they brought in, there's going to be a maturation as these guys, get more comfortable, get more confidence within the league, within themselves, and their standing within the league. And I think that's what thus far kind of makes this, a fun group to kind of follow here.
Jeff Lloyd from Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break, back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
At the Ohio Lottery, we make Keno fun your way. So go on, pick your wager. Will it be $1, $2, $10, or more? Your call. Then it's as easy as picking up to 10 numbers. Use any inspiration you like. You can even tag on the booster for a chance to boost your winnings up to 10 times. Every few minutes across Ohio, 20 out of 80 possible numbers are drawn. And if enough of yours match, you win. Keno is always fun your way.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd, host of Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, well, I know you're tired of hearing about this, but man, they really screwed the pooch with this Nick Chubb thing. They got all the analytics stuff, and they just seem to forget one thing, the human element, not only for the player involved, but also for the fan base. What would it hurt to bring Chubb in? Why do you always have to think of him as washed and he's going to be the 4th guy in there and all that good stuff? Bring him in and let him work. Let him go to work and let him see where he stands. I don't understand this front office. All the public relations nightmares that they put this city through, and then they still keep making these huge mistakes. I mean, good grief. Chubb any day of the week over Ford. Any day of the week. Show like you got some brains instead of the stupid analytics stuff, which is so ridiculous. You can only depend on that to a certain point. But no, nobody thinks of the big picture here. Nobody thinks beyond the little narrow window that they see through.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, I get the fan base's affinity for Nick Chubb. But the one thing I would say, I don't think Nick Chubb wants to be a third back. And I think the front office realizes that. I think he's looking for a better opportunity. When they drafted Dylan Sampson, I thought that kind of told. And Dylan Sampson, by all accounts, he could end up being really good. So I think there's a little bit of respect that the front office has shown Nick Chubb. We don't want to insult you and call you a third down, or the third back in a rotation.
Well, I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head here. This is always such a tricky thing, with players, that get to a certain age and their contracts have expired, and you're exploring whether or not, we're renewing as opposed to, maybe moving on. And I mean, you even think about this, and you have to keep positions in mind. You also have to keep players' health in mind. There's not much difference in age between Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett, but Nick Chubb happens to play the position that unfortunately does not have a long run in professional football. Nick Chubb has also been through not one, but two devastating injuries. And look, yes, the season ended last year with a broken bone in his foot, but before that, we all felt he kind of didn't look like the Nick Chubb we were all familiar with. 3.3 yards per carry. We're used to seeing Nick Chubb get closer to 5.3 yards per carry. And I don't think anybody wants to have Nick here. And again, have Nick here and, basically fighting for a roster spot or as a third or fourth running back. Well, guess what third and fourth running backs in the NFL do? They play special teams. They cover kicks. He'd have to earn his spot playing preseason games. These are all things that you just wouldn't really necessarily do. And, for whatever people getting on the Browns about this situation, it's been almost 2 months. Nick Chubb was free to sign with any team in the league at this point. So it's maybe not just necessarily what the Browns might be saying. It could also be what the rest of the league is saying in regards to Nick Chubb. And I think the other one of it is maybe nobody is in a rush to sign him because nobody, God forbid, wants to see him possibly get hurt again. And to the message that was left, I mean, I think Jerome Ford certainly gets a little disrespect here. I mean, he was crucial in 2023. And if you go back and you thumb through those numbers from last year again, I think Jerome Ford played a little bit better than most people think he did.
Yeah, and again, I get fans, I mean...
Oh, there's a loyalty. There's no question.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I get that, and I get it. Just the only thing I'd say, give Junkins and Sampson a chance to kind of earn the spot in your hearts that Nick Chubb has. That's the only thing I'd say. Browns signed 2 safeties as well. We've talked about the need for safeties. Do you like Kazee and Rashawn Jenkins, and do you like how they fit with what the Browns need?
I think the first one with, DeMonte Casey is here was a guy that came in the NFL as a corner. And, basically started playing more safety, started playing some more nickel. So this is a guy you kind of like, and this can kind of give you maybe what McLeod was giving you last year. There's versatility to his game. So when he can go out onto the field, certainly in dime situations, there's several things he can do for you. Jenkins is another one, interesting one as well. Journeyman guys. I think the plan is certainly to see if Ronnie Hickman, now in his third year, can step up and kind of take that job for himself. But you have to have a contingency plan in there for that. But also, I think this kind of raises what the floor of this room, this safety room overall would be. We all know what we have in Grant. Hickman, there's been some hit or miss, but, maybe now going to get more of a legit fuller role here with this team. And, Jenkins and, of course, Casey been in the league as long as they have been. It wasn't a great safety class. There wasn't much on the free agent market. And even if there was, the Browns haven't had success chasing, larger contract safeties. So if you want to say, you know what, instead of signing one for a larger deal, let's just try to piecemeal together 2 or 3. It might be a more accurate approach as far as, getting more sustained success within that room. And it's certainly a room that needed some attention. And, for now, I think it kind of got the attention that it needed.
Yeah, they're different skill sets too. Casey's kind of big and he's kind of a thumper, and Jenkins is a little bit more of a ball hawk.
Well, size, Casey maybe more the ball hawk, Jenkins more. I think Casey gets associated as more as the thumper. He had the rough hit of Michael Pittman in 2023. And, he obviously got suspended for 3 games, and, whether it was intentional or not, probably deserved the suspension. I mean, it's just a hit, you should know in your mind just not to take. It puts yourself in danger just as much as it puts your opponent in player. Jenkins is a little bit bigger. So, he can do some things maybe a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. But either way, though, this was a group that, if you said yesterday, well, we got Hickman, we got Delpit, the kid Trey Dean, he's kind of been trying to make a roster here and there. Not much athleticism, has a nice 3-cone to him today. But now today, you just went and brought in, I think it's about 13 or 14 years of experience at the safety position in the NFL combined between these two. So this, this positional room really took a big jump here over the last 24 hours.
Jeff Lloyd, Browns 3D, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Anytime, Dave. Always a pleasure.
Jeff Lloyd, make sure you check him out. He is the host of Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll talk plenty about Browns rookie minicamp. Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. New offensive coordinator Tommy Rees was mic'd up during the recent rookie minicamp. Let's listen in.
Here we go. If you're here, you're here.
Okay.
And coming up high. Good?
Here we go.
Eyes down the field.
Set.
Good. We're reading those seams. Hey, we're going to do a lot of work when we climb up is keeping this thing on that now. These now that are going to be tackling you, it's a different world. You feel me? It's a different world. You see Myles Garrett walking around with his shirt off? We got to have that ready to roll. You know I'm mic'd up. I hope that makes it. I hope that makes it. Ball's on the right hash. Quick game. Push our timing on this. Ball's out. Good spot. Good spot. Switch sides, switch sides, switch sides. Good timing. Hey, that's the timing we're after. That's the timing we're after. Good rhythm, baby. I fucking love that. Hey, switch sides, switch sides. So right away, we're not just going here. Our eyes are still here, and now we're reading that, and now we're coming back. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. On that last rep, let me see your eyes. See, yeah, there they are. Now that's the high-low on rhythm. Perfect. Good first day.
Really good first aid. QBs on 3. 1, 2, 3.
QBs.
With that, let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, you were out there, and we'll get into some of the individual clips that you have. As I'm listening to that, I think it's a huge advantage when you're trying to identify a young quarterback to have a guy who has recently been a college OC like Tommy Rees. I think he fits with what they need.
Well, it's funny. He really has a really kind of him and Kevin, the whole offense staff. They really have good communication with those quarterbacks. And I heard a lot of narrative that who is better, who is worse, and I didn't see it like that with both guys. I saw it as a learning session, 2 days to try to get acclimated to the NFL game. I thought both quarterbacks did a really nice job. I thought they coached him really hard. They threw some really good footballs. They also threw some really bad ones. And that being said, I thought they did a really nice job of bouncing back. Good rhythm, good tempo. Both are really likable young kids, and Tommy Rees is kind of leading that way with them. And I thought he did a great job. They were organized. They knew what they were doing during camp.
All right, let's start. We're going to start by taking a look at Dillon Gabriel. What did you see when we were looking at Dillon Gabriel in rookie minicamp?
Well, Dillon Gabriel, you'll see right here. So what he does very well. There's a little out route to Harold Fanning. He throws on time. He consistently throws on time. He has really good feet. You're going to see him here down in the red zone. The thing about I was really impressed with him is his ability to drive the football. People were questioning his ability, what was his arm strength like? It's really elite. You're going to see him here, again, driving that football. He's just really easy to like. His motion is very compact. The height thing is an issue. He would be an outlier, but this guy has incredible zip on the football. He's complete. His fundamentals are impeccable. You talk about what he could be. I see why Kevin Stefanski likes him. He's a perfect fit for this scheme. Again, fundamentals, compact throwing motion, delivers the ball on time, doesn't hold the ball at all, which is really, really good because the Browns have struggled with that. I like Dillon Gabriel at camp. I thought he did a really nice job. I thought he had really good arm strength. It was even better than I thought.
Yeah, and to your point, we're not going to know if the size plays in the NFL until he gets into an NFL regular. You might not even know in preseason. So those are questions that are going to have to be answered later. Shedeur Sanders, what did you see with Shedeur Sanders? And you're going to take us through some clips here as well.
Well, the thing about Shedeur Sanders, you're going to see right here, he throw a really nice ball here to kid from Menor. Luke Floria kid, really good on the slot fade. You're going to see him here throw a deep ball. The thing about Sanders that I really like is that, first and foremost, he's a really likable kid. And that sounds funny, but you hear a lot of, I always try to base things on watching the film and watch how they interact with Mary Kay Cabot and, Dan Lobby and Ashley Bassock and all those people asking those questions. And he's just a really nice kid. He grew up in a family that was his dad's probably the best corner of all time. I thought he handled himself, both of them handled themselves very good in meetings. I think Sanders is going to be better when he's in game situations. When I go back and watch a film, he's really good in the last 2 minutes of games. Again, fundamentals, going to have to work on his footwork a little bit, but makes a lot of really good throws. He's a good leader. He generally has fun out there. Both guys are really good. But like you said, it won't matter till the pads go on and there's live bullets flying around.
Yeah, and again, we're basically 7-on-7 is touch football, so we're not going to learn anything at any of these. They look like NFL quarterbacks. We'll see. Next two are interesting. Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, the duo of running backs. What did you see from them?
Well, I really liked them, right? So you're going to see they compete very well. They were pushing each other throughout whole practice. So this is one of the drills Deuce loves to run during camp. You're going to see here just an outside zone here. Quinshon Judkins has great second-level burst like we all thought he would. Catches the ball very well. You're going to see Sampson here again, does a really good job of setting up his blocks. You see there the guard pulling. What I like about these two guys is that they're a lot more alike than people think. People always think that Judkins is just a power guy. He's got a ton of speed, and people think Sampson's just a speed guy. He runs with power too. They're two guys. It's going to be a two-headed attack, and with the signing of Ford, it doesn't look like Nick Chubb's going to be back, and there is no replacing Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is an elite tailback who was just incredible for so many years, but these two backs in this day in NFL, they both catch the ball well out of the backfield. They're both super athletic. They're very good teammates. They seem to be very good in pass protection. Obviously, once again, just like everything else, this camp was more about lining up right. Do you know what your assignments are? The competition will come once pads go on. This is, as my dad used to say, these are the underwear Olympics, and they don't mean much until those pads go on.
Yeah, and again, the one thing you can see is there is some burst there to both of them, which is important.
Yeah. Both really run well, absolutely.
All right, now, an intriguing guy, Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, Canton McKinley. What did you see from Fannin?
Well, I talked about a safe pick, right? So you're going to see him right here down in the red zone. He's at 1 week at receiver. He gets big, just too big for the corner. What he does really, really well is he uses his body. He's awkward. He's just a really hard cover. He's too big for the corners, too fast for the safeties. He's at 230, 235 range. You can line him up everywhere. He's everything we thought we'd be, when you and I were talking during the draft and, last couple of years. This is a guy who's going to make 12 personnel really good. He gets in those seams really good. He's a really catchable target. You see a really good throw here by Dillon Gabriel, throwing on time, great placement. But he's a matchup nightmare, especially down in this red zone. So if he can block a little bit, doesn't have to be an elite blocker, but if he can block a little bit and get regular personnel on the field, he's going to be a tough cover for a corner and a linebacker. So very impressed with Fannin. Love his attention to detail in drills. Did a really nice job in everything he did. I like his hustle. I like his body language. Really safe, really good pick here for the Browns.
All right, so Fannin, let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Mason Graham, a lot was made you know, he threw up during one of the drills, and again, he went right back to it and continued to work out. So it was a little different than being gassed like DeJuan Jones is. Some of the social media folks jumped all over that. Take us through the film that we see on Mason Graham, though.
Well, first thing you see is his violent hands, right? Two things that really stood out: his violent hands and his ability to move. Now, I will say this. I heard, I was actually, as you can see how close I am to the defensive line practice, down in Browns camp, you can get really close to those D linemen where media gets to stand. So I heard him talking. It was just he ate before practice. He's eating. These big guys got to keep their weight up. All the stuff that you heard about, his conditioning, he did every drill. He did everything he's supposed to do. He has great body language. I wasn't sure, when you're there every day and you hear the kind of the narrative from the outside, it's interesting. This is a guy who's a no-brainer. This is a guy who got violent hands. This is a guy that will be better with the pads on. Some guys are really good without pads on. Wait till the pads go on. This guy has elite movement skills. He's violent. He's a wrestler. Great balance. Great hands. I was not at all worried about him throwing up. That's football. If you ever played football, it happens. These guys are working hard. They're trying to make an impression. Very, very impressed with Mason Graham. I think he's going to be an outstanding pro this year.
The other thing that you have to understand is they're trying to put more weight on this guy, good weight. So that's one of the reasons that he's eating. So I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me that at all that he ate before practice, and that's what happened. All right. Earlier today, we found out JOK put on physically unable to perform list, out for all of 2025. That makes what we're going to look at here with Carson Schlesinger more important. Take us through what we see here with Schlesinger.
We're going to see him. This is from Dan Lobby. This is actually Dan Lobby's clip. I was talking to Dan, said I wanted to use this clip because I think it shows his ability to laterally move as a linebacker. You can see as he runs by. Two things that really stood out to me is one, for some reason, you think of him as a thin guy. This guy has absolute tree trunks for legs. He's a guy who can really move. He's got a great vertical leap, over 38 at the combine, runs very well. His number one thing you see here with his athletic ability is how instinctual he is. A lot of the stuff that he has to get better at is just because he's a one-year starter. But his size, his speed, his instincts, his lateral movement, his short area burst, ball skills, spatial awareness, all those tag words that we all use, he has it all. This is a really good football player. He's a big kid. Like I said, that lower body, he is a thick kid who's a tackling machine. Led the FBS with 90 solos last year. Obviously, with the loss of JOK, this guy's going to be very important. He's a mature kid. He's a bioengineering major at UCLA. This is a smart kid. Could be a green dot guy, but he's a guy like JOK, instinctual, tackling machine. Everybody's going to, I know, including me, I wanted a skill guy here for the Browns, but I see now why, and this is a very important pick, and this guy has all the measurements you want.
Yeah, and it makes a whole lot of sense when we find out the news that JOK will not be able to play this year. He's out for 2025. Lance Reisland and I can step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of the break. We head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll continue talking Browns and rookie minicamp. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
At the Ohio Lottery, we make Keno fun your way. So go on, pick your wager. Will it be $1, $2, $10, or more? Your call. Then it's as easy as picking up to 10 numbers. Use any inspiration you like. You can even tag on the booster for a chance to boost your winnings up to 10 times. Every few minutes across Ohio, 20 out of 80 possible numbers are drawn. And if enough of yours match, you win. Keno is always fun your way.
We continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE, and let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, love the show. So if the Browns find their quarterback this year between one of these two young guys, wouldn't it be great to just use those 2 first-round picks and draft the 2 best offensive linemen on the board, whether they're tackles or not? Like, if they're both tackles, take them both. Like, it'd be great to just get some offensive line insurance because I don't feel like they did nothing, really, to help address the offensive line. I mean, they made a few signings, but just my opinion. Want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Talking with Lance Reisland, cleveland.com. Lance, I don't dislike the idea. I also would like to use some high draft capital on a wide receiver once in a while. Once?
I'll tell you what, you and I are gonna throw a party when they get a skill guy. You and I, no one wants a skill guy more than you and I, right? So here's what I saw. Here's what I see with the offensive line. Yes, I think they're gonna be better this year, and here's why. So they're gonna go back. You saw it in camp a little bit. Obviously, we'll know more when the pads go on. But when they go back to Kevin Stefanski's offense, these guards are pulling. They're running weak side zone, pin and pull, power, counter, things like that. They're gonna do what these offensive linemen do well. Now, I think DeJuan Jones. He fought through injury last year, did a great job of trying to get in shape while playing. DeJuan Jones has elite talent. Conklin's going to be much better this year, hopefully, if he stays healthy. And he was pretty good last year, in my opinion. And he's he has a mean streak. So this offensive line, for me, I think those three guys inside are going to be very good again this year because they're going back. The key for me is DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones has to play like he did when he was early on. He has to get himself in great shape. He has to be dominant with that big body. But if they don't, I think the Browns are okay. The thing they need is they need to surround whoever this quarterback was. I think they did a good job of getting that tight end and getting those backs, but they gotta figure out what they're doing skill wise. Guys like Tillman have to step up, but I think the offensive line is going to be much better just because they're going to do what they do well.
Yeah, and I think the caller's getting at something. Everybody's getting a little bit older there, other than DeJuan Jones. You have Zinter who can potentially fill in, but yeah, they need to get younger on the offensive line without question. A couple of local guys from Brown's rookie minicamp. And the first one we're going to look at, Luke Floria, mentor, played at Kent State. He's coming back. He played well enough at rookie minicamp as a tryout player. They're going to keep him around for a little bit. What'd you see from Floria?
We're going to see this first one. You're going to see a little slot fade. He's kind of a perfect slot. He reminds me a lot like a Wes Welker. In that slot kind of guy, really hard to cover, smaller guy, great short area burst. He's quicker than he is fast, but he's extremely quick. But I tell you what, not only Luke Floria, but all these guys, all these young guys that were not the drafted rookies, they did a really good job of bringing in guys who competed at a high level. Now, not everybody's going to make the team, but guys are trying to get film, out there to the rest of the NFL. All these guys gave great effort. There was no one walking around. As a coach, it was 2 days I was there. I enjoyed watching it because I thought these kids competed to try to get on the team. Floria was absolutely outstanding both days I was there. Leads all the drills. He's really hard to cover. He's a really good slot receiver. Now, I don't know what his chances are, but he's going to be in the hunt to make this team because he can do some things in the slot that the Browns really need and really would help the quarterback. And you can see a really good back shoulder throw there by Sanders.
And you mentioned, Wes Welker. Julian Edelman is from Kent State, was the quarterback there, so it's a little bit different positional guy. Another local guy, and you know this one pretty well, Donald Willis. Take us through what you saw with him.
Well, Donald's my kid, right? Got at Garfield Heights my last year in 2018, and Donald represented himself very well. Like I said, he kind of falls in this category if he's unable to make the team or whatever was to happen. He's trying to get some film out there. And all these guys that were on scout teams, all these guys that went against each other, they did a great job for 2 days of competing and trying to make each other better. Donald's still learning the game. He was young when he started playing for me in high school and obviously went on to Minnesota and the Western Michigan. But Donald kind of represents all those other guys that may not get signed, but boy, did they play hard and they flew around. The talent level in the NFL is so good because Donald is one of the guys out there. He's really, really good, and they're all so good. Even these guys are undrafted. They're all such talented guys. So a couple Cleveland guys did a really, really good job. All these rookies did a really nice job of playing really, really hard. Really proud of Donald as a former coach. He did a really nice job.
All right, so one of the big name guys, Mason Graham. Graham talked about transitioning to the Browns style of defense from what he was coming from at Michigan.
I would just say that the play style, I feel like the Browns play a different play style than I played at Michigan, so kind of just adjusting to more of the attack front defense and, kind of more penetrating than, playing lateral, which I did in college. Coach Jock always talks about taking the handcuffs off. I feel like, maybe in the scheme I was playing in before, I might have had handcuffs off, moving more laterally. But I feel like, Coach Jock and Coach Morris, this attacking front will help me and, unleash some new things in my game, and I feel like I can, be a great player in this scheme.
And Lance, we've kind of talked about it when we've mentioned Graham. Former wrestler, knows leverage. That's what you want when you have an attacking front.
Well, yeah, like he's saying too. If you think about what it is, At Michigan, he was getting his hands on more, the offensive guy in front of him. Always got his hands on, playing some two gaps, extending that guy, even though everybody thinks he has short arms. They didn't show up in college either, and I don't think they'll show up in the NFL. But at the line of he played more at the line of scrimmage, so he wasn't penetrating as much or getting upfield as much. With the Browns, they do a really good job. D-line coach is one of my favorites to watch. Doc does a great job, but they're going to do more of getting in that gap and more of penetrating and Mason. So if you think about it, they will play some laterally on first and second down just because you want to stop the run. But then they turn them loose a little bit, and they'll do that on first and second too. Don't get me wrong, but Mason Graham's athletic ability allows him. What he did at Michigan is harder to do than playing in the gap. When you play on the line of scrimmage, you got to be really strong. You got to take on double teams. You got to have great balance, great hands, all those things Mason Graham had. And then you got to be able to rush the passer in the NFL, which he can do too. So 3-down defensive lineman. He'll get in that gap. He'll be tough to block, especially when all the focus going on Miles.
Lance Reisland and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Talk some more Browns rookie minicamp. Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Try C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Dennis from Cleveland, and I'm a diehard Browns fan. And I would like to thank the Steelers for trading George Pickens, because I'm tired of hearing him making those one-handed catches with our cornerback dripped all over him. And to think they were going to pair him up with DK Metcalf would be ugly. And I would like to one more thing to say to George Pickens. Bye-bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Lance, if Mike Tomlin kind of has had enough, I think the player you were getting on the field and the problems you were getting in the locker room with George Pickens, locker room outweighed field is what ended up happening. Because the caller's right. That guy's really good receiver. They'd had enough.
Well, I will say this, as a coach, that's exactly right. Your ultimate job in the NFL is different than high school and college. You got to win. I mean, all levels you have to win, but in the pros, I think especially a guy like Mike Tomlin does a great job of balancing these guys and what they do, and it's on and off the field. And when you're off the field, does it affect who you are as a person? Does it affect your team? Does it affect your play? Does it affect the culture of your team, kind of thing? And it seems like that was the case with Pickens, where it's just his production wasn't matching all the issues they were having off the field. That tells me he's not very good in the locker room. He's not a very good teammate. Now, those are all hypothetical, obviously. But if Mike Tomlin, who everybody has a ton of respect for, and really likes to work with kids and have these kids, give them a chance, right? And I wouldn't want anybody to judge me from my age, 16 to 23, 24. So I think he does a great job of trying to get these guys to become young men and then get the most out of their football. So if you can't make it for Mike Tomlin, it'd be really tough for you to make it anywhere in the NFL.
Yeah, and the Steelers wide receivers that have been really good in Pittsburgh and have left, their production usually goes like that. So we'll see. Pickens is a young guy with a lot of talent and still will have an opportunity to go to Dallas and play well. So we'll see. Jeremy Fowler talking about the Browns quarterback room. This is from NFL Live.
So the Browns got these 4 quarterbacks. They're going to roll with that for the next 2 to 3 months to see how it shakes out. Shedeur Sanders will have every opportunity to make his impression and to make this team. The Browns also look at quarterbacks, like all positions, like currency, like value. They could trade one of these guys in August if they play well in the preseason. But they're going to give Sanders every chance because the word around the league was that he had a tough time in some of these interviews with other teams. That was not the Browns' experience. They felt good about him. They felt like he was a good person, that he's accurate on the field. So there's some things to like, but he has to beat out Dylan Gabriel because they were so surprised that the Gabriel dynamic and their courtship of him in pre-draft didn't get more publicity by the media. They low-key loved him for months and nobody knew it, and they drafted him 2 rounds earlier. So he's got to beat him out.
Yeah, and Lance, you and I have talked about this. right now because they traded for Kenny Pickett before they signed Joe Flacco. That tells me they wanted Kenny Pickett ahead of Joe Flacco. They drafted Dylan Gabriel with Shedeur Sanders on the board. For whatever reason, they wanted Dylan Gabriel more than they wanted Shedeur Sanders. Doesn't mean they can't make up the ground, but that's kind of the pecking order when you look at it.
Well, I couldn't agree. That's exactly right. That's exactly how they went about it. So I will say this. I've been asked a lot of questions the last 48 hours about who is in front. No one's in front when you're a quarterback at any position until you start getting hit, right? Until there's live bullets, so there's live defensive linemen. They both did a really nice job, but they both also made a lot of mistakes. Now I can see why Kevin Stefanski absolutely loves Dylan Gabriel because of his compact motion. He's very consistent in everything he does with his steps, his fundamentals, his work, how he approaches. And I can also see why people like Shedeur Sanders, because he is a gamer. He has a lot of fun out there. He's a wild card. He understands where to go. I don't think he gets enough credit for his processing. He does a really nice job with that as well. But yeah, you would have to say those guys are in the front. And for me, I would say Joe Flacco's in front just because Joe Flacco's run this offense with people coming at him. So there's going to be less time that they have to do with walkthroughs. The only thing I would say to everybody is, kind of temper your excitement about these two young guys, because there's two veterans that are going to come in. They're going to get more reps than these two guys at first. And, the narrative that Sanders really, completely outplayed Dylan Gabriel, I disagree with that. I thought they both did some really good things. They both made some mistakes. You can tell they're both rookies. You can tell they're going to do some good things in camp. They're also going to struggle when they have to go against the Browns starting defense. So there's a long way to go for those two young rookies. There's a long way to go for all those rookies. And, they were pretty, they did, like I said, they both did some good things. I think Sanders maybe hit a couple more deep balls. I think Gabriel's a little bit more compact and consistent with the things from, 10 to 20. But obviously we'll see when you start getting hit. And it does not matter until you get hit. So to say one person's ahead, I don't agree with that yet. You got to wait till they start seeing, you start getting hit in the face a little bit.
All right, so two new rookie running backs. Dylan Sampson talked about teaming up with Quinshawn Junkins to give the Browns a potent running attack.
If we go out here and handle business throughout training camp, and there's also some guys who've been here, so it's a competition all over. But I think this is like the blueprint of the league, the best way it works with running backs. It's a long season, so you want as many people as you can to go in there and split reps and, do good for the team, that keeps everybody fresh. You see it all across the league, and I think we have an opportunity to do that here.
I couldn't have said it better. I think you can sense they've drafted guys that are used to being in the spotlight. All of them have been stars. All of them have been productive. And in listening to them, you could see how teammates would gravitate towards everybody that they put in front of the microphone this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this. What a bunch of nice kids in terms of just people skills, right? They all did a really nice job of making sure they are complimentary to all their teammates. They also made it very clear that they're there to compete and win jobs. And obviously this is what they want to do for their livelihood. I was very impressed with Dylan Sampson and all the guys. Everybody, all the rookie draftees got interviewed, and they did a really, really nice job. And those two backs, two things that stood out to me. One is Quinshawn Junkins is a lot faster at second level than I even thought. And Dylan Sampson's a lot more powerful than I thought. So they got two guys that kind of give them what they want in the zone and gap schemes. But to what you're saying, that means a lot. And they're very well-spoken guys, and they were quiet and they worked. And it was fun to watch those 2 days of practice. These kids worked really hard.
So who physically, and again, you're in shells, so it's not like they're in pads. They're not doing anything. Who kind of did you look at and go, all right, that's impressive?
Well, I think two things. One is it's Mason Graham is a guy, I had a lot of people say he doesn't look like, he's ripped, he doesn't look like Miles. And I always say, well, he's a wrestler. And sometimes wrestlers don't always have the, muscles popping out of everywhere. But wait till the pads go on. And then you're going to see the balance. You're going to see the nastiness. You're going to see what Mason Graham's all about. Physically, I thought Carson Schlesinger, his lower body was probably the most impressive thing I saw all weekend. I mean, I assumed he was when you watch him on film, I assumed he was a thinner guy who blitzes very well, plays like JOK. He does all those things, but he's real thick, and that tells me he can also play tackle to tackle. His legs were so powerful, and his ability to jump and laterally move and short area burst. So physically, Carson Schwetzinger was very impressive when you saw him coming on the field first, because like I said, that lower body of his is very powerful.
Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. As always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Always does great film breakdowns and video analyses for cleveland.com as well as the Plain Dealer. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.